Fairy Tale is back with chapter 209. What I want to protect. And we're all wondering what's going to go on with Juvia's fate. You know how we got left on the cliffhanger in chapter 208. Oh, rhyming. But yeah, over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of speculation going on what could be going on with Juvia. Even I've had my own sort of like debates and like sort of discussions with people. I even made a video on it. And, yeah, because I already know what happens, yeah, that video, my theory, just completely thrown out the window. But still, you know, there was a lot of talk. Is she alive? Is she dead? Are they going to play around with it? Is it going to be different this time? Because it did have that sort of vibe and feeling. Well, let's have a little look, shall we? So yeah, chapter 209 just literally picks up right after the events of chapter 208. Juvia is still ripped apart and bam, Grey chases after her and yeah, she's not there. And just as we thought, Grey is absolutely destroyed. He is crying. I couldn't protect you. Drip, drip, drop. What? Juvia? She's alive! Who would have thought? And literally, within the first page or the first 2 pages, she's back. And I get it. Some people are going to be annoyed. They're going to be mad. You know, oh, classic fairy tale yet again. Fake out deaths left, right and centre. And you know what? This doesn't bother me. I even said it in my previous fairy tale video. Like, I'm kind of just accustomed to what fairy tale is like, but this to me isn't bad writing because the explanation they give is actually pretty good. So there's nothing wrong with this. And you know what? At least she's around. Juvia's my favourite character, so I guess it's a bonus for me. But, you know, she's alive and we actually find out that basically the chains that locked her up, they did seal her magic, but she could still use magic, if that made sense. So basically what she did is use a water clone and tricked Anchor, even tricked Grey, as you see here, right? Literally, as Grey's sort of like figuring out what's going on. And that obviously leads to her obviously being able to pull the fast one on Anchor and use Waterlock. Waterlock, by the way, we have not seen Waterlock in forever. Literally. Like, the last time I remember Juvia using Waterlock was what? That enemy they fought in was it the Tower of Heaven? Is that what it's called? All the way back, like, you know, during the early days of Fairy Tail when she was with Lucy when they had that team up fight. I mean, that's the last time I remember it. Obviously, she probably has used it in between, but I cannot remember. Wow, it's been so long. That's crazy. Anchor being locked with Waterlocked. This is where Grey feels like he can end the fight in one by using Ice Demon Zero Bow of Annihilation. But of course that doesn't work, because if there's something that we've kind of picked up on or kind of learned only in the last few chapters, and by the way, we haven't seen all the Calamity Bloods fight yet, is that they are strong. They actually seem to be a serious threat. Not like Fire and Flame, not like the Irashian Sex who are just straight up trash. You know, they actually seem to be, you know, formidable opponents, and that's what we need. I feel like that's something that's been lacking for quite a long time in a 100-year quest, right? But they actually seem to be, you know, putting up a fight, and to be honest, they're actually winning all the fights so far that we've seen. Like I said, we haven't seen them all in action, but they seem like serious enemies. And that's why I said in my previous video, I feel like they're going to be like the Spriggan 12 of a 100-year quest. Like, they are the final group villains. Still could be wrong. Who knows? Who knows how long this manga's going to go on for? We all think it's going to end around chapter 250. I feel like it's going to go up to 300, to be honest. Maybe it goes beyond that. Who knows? But yeah, Grey tries to, you know, kill Anchor with the bow. He stops it in one, and to be honest, he just stops it with ease. And this is where he uses sort of special watery tsunami attack called Primal Azure or Azure. Anyway, but you find out it's not actually water, it's poison. And who's it affecting first? Juvia. And what is Grey's first thing on his mind? To protect her. And I really love this. Not only is it just another great cute moment with Grey just showing how much he loves and cares for Juvia, it also kind of references early on in the chapter where he thought she died and he goes, I couldn't protect you. But what this does, this basically just sets up Grey's story from the beginning of a 100-year quest. He's the only character, by the way, in the main team, in Team Natsu, who actually has an actual goal, an actual story arc in a 100-year quest when you really deep it for a second. Like, the only reason why he's actually on it is to make himself more stronger so he can be the best possible version, you know, or best possible man, you know, to protect Juvia. Now, even though she doesn't care about that, she probably couldn't care less about that. Grey's already proved himself and all that sort of stuff, right? It's just something that he wants to do. It's like his own personal goal, and I've really always appreciated that, especially with some of the moments we got early on in the series, right, in the 100-year quest. So yeah, I really like this sort of like foreshadowing parallel and callback, and that's where we kind of like end off, you know, with Grey and Juvia. But I've got to go back to this sort of image, right? He kisses her. Now, clearly he's doing some sort of CPR, giving her air, and she does wake up, by the way. So I would assume that maybe in the next chapter, this is where they're going to probably do some insane, crazy, maybe power boost unison raid, and maybe they beat Anchor, or they just push him back, or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know if any of these Calamity Bloods are actually going to get fully defeated, because if they do, oh my, seriously? They've just appeared and they're going to get, what, just defeated within a few chapters? I don't see it. Unless there is another endgame group villain. No way they can't. There can't be another one. But yeah, I'm assuming we're going to probably pick back up with these two in the next chapter, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, that's the end of them for now. I cannot wait to see what happens. I'm so engaged into this. Like I said before in my other video, these two are my favourite characters. And you can see why they are a lot of people's favourite characters, and why it's one of the most popular, if not the popular ship. It's just great. It's cute. The dynamic between the two, their story, everything about it's great. But anyway, then we cut back to Lucy and Wendy, who are fighting... I can't even remember his name. What's his name again? I'm just going to call him Goliath. I don't know if that's his name. Anyway, they are getting smoked. Like, literally smoked to the max. But what I really love here, right, though, is Lucy and Wendy, but especially Lucy's main sort of like thing on her mind is to protect Natsu. And she has this really great cute moment where she goes, I have to protect him. He's always been the one protecting me. Which it has, right? That's not saying Lucy hasn't done some amazing things throughout the whole entire series of Fairy Tail. And she has actually got some really good W's in the 100-year quest. So I really like this. So she uses Gate of the Clock Constellation, Horilogium. I can never say his name right. Unless I just said it. Horilogium. Anyway. We haven't seen him in ages. Damn, it's been so long. But then here she uses Star Dress Mix, Virgo times Leo form. And this guy's just like looking at her thinking, seriously? Like, come on, like, really? That's not going to do anything to me. And yeah, yet again, he hits them with like a million fists and they just get smoked again. And this is the thing, right, I want to touch on. And I don't mean to be like, you know, a hater on this character, because I love this character. But I'm talking about Wendy. I love Wendy. She's a great character. She has a great development throughout the original series. But I'm going to say it, right? And now, granted, maybe this all changes in the next chapter. But obviously, I can only go by what I've seen so far. But she has been, let's be completely honest, pretty useless in a 100-year quest, apart from the Alderaan arc, right? But when you really think about it, okay, the Labyrinth arc, she fought that Haku guy who had a crush on her, so I'm not even going to take that seriously, to be honest, that fight. Then the Gold Owl arc, she did absolutely nothing. And then here, she's done absolutely nothing. Let's be completely honest, and I'm kind of wondering, why is she kind of here, like, on the journey? She's not really doing anything. You know what I'm saying? She just kind of feels like she feels like a background character. She doesn't really get any moments, any big sort of story moments connected to her. She hasn't really had a lot of big one-on-one fights. I just feel like she's getting really underused. She just feels completely pointless in a 100-year quest. Like, to be honest, you might as well just take her out and just bring in Gajil and Juvia in as like main permanent sort of characters in the main party, because they are the next two characters who have the most amount of screen time behind Team Natsu, right? So, you know what I'm saying? And plus, they have better fights, better stories, and they're just better characters, in my personal opinion. But yeah, she really hasn't done anything. Now, I really hope she does in the next chapter, but I don't know, especially with how this chapter ends, which is a little bit... I'm like, ugh, seriously? But we'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, it feels like it's been 150 chapters since the Alderaan arc, right? Where she had that great moment. Apart from that, though, she hasn't done anything. And I remember that we almost got to that sort of point with Grey. Remember, we nearly got to 100 chapters since Grey actually did anything impressive. And if you want to know who's the one who kind of started all that, I think it might be me on Reddit way back in the day. But Grey's my favourite character, though. I weren't saying it out of like, oh, I don't like Grey, because I knew he would get a big moment, and he did when he beat VNS, right? But it just felt like his last 2 or 3 fights for a long period of time were just awful. Nothing was really happening with him. But now he's getting some proper story, right? And yeah, it's great. But as we see, Lucy and Wendy are just getting completely smoked. And my issue here is, right, we see Natsu wake up, and we clearly see by the end of the chapter he doesn't seem to be himself. There's like some split personality in there. I don't know if this is like, I don't know, Ignia inside him, or Ignil, or Zerif, or E&D, or part of E&D. I don't really know, to be honest, but there's clearly something going on, and you would assume by how this ends, he's going to end up facing this guy and probably winning or just pushing him back. And it's like, that's cool, but yet again, he's just going to take the spotlight away from Lucy and Wendy, especially, who I feel like needs something big. I really hope not, or maybe it's going to be a 3v1. I don't mind that. That's fine. I love fairy tale team-up fights. Right, it's something that it actually does very well compared to other sort of shonen, in my personal opinion. But I really would have loved, and someone made a good point about this when I was like just seeing people's reactions to this chapter, that it would have been great to kind of let Lucy and Wendy actually get the W here, or at least do something without Natsu interfering, because as Lucy said, he's always protecting her, so let her protect him. It just feels very fitting, right? But here he's just going to kind of hog the spotlight. We don't know, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen, but that's what it seems like. And we've seen this too much, and I love Natsu, and I get it, he's one of, if not the main character, right? But like, I feel like you should have just left it a few more chapters, then bring him back. But like I said, maybe they actually end up fighting this new personality Natsu. That'd be quite cool and interesting, right? Maybe we have to stop him. But who knows, though? And plus, we still haven't seen the rest of the other Calamity Bloods, right? We've still got Urza versus Mother Glare. We've got Mira and Angel versus Scissor Face. I can't even remember it. Scissor Razor. Anyway, which, by the way, that's such a weird team up, isn't it? Angel and Mira. Very interesting. So I wonder what's going to happen there. That's. I'm really curious about that one. And then we have the main man himself, Loxus versus. I cannot remember his name. I tell you, I'm a massive fairy tale fan. Yeah, I do know a lot about this series, but I just cannot remember a lot of the Calamity Bloods' names. It's because they barely appeared, all these other characters, so I just can't remember their names, so I apologise. But I'm going to say it, like, I feel like 100 Year Quest at the moment has been on a really good run. With this arc, and then we're like 60 chapters in now, it's been very up and down. There's been some really great moments, and then some really weird rush, sort of like forced, sort of just silly plot armor moments. And then there's been a lot of wasted potential, but then we've also seen some really good executed potential, and I think we're kind of getting it here. Like I said, I'm glad that the Calamity Bloods are actually posing a threat. You know what I'm saying? They're not just getting walked all over. If anything, they're winning all their fights. Like I said, we haven't seen them all fight yet, but they're actually causing some damage and harm. Hopefully that kind of continues. I still believe that they're going to win, and then maybe we get a time skip, or maybe we have to flee back to our continent, Fiore, and then they're going to invade, and that's how we bring the rest of the guilds back. I don't know, that's just a theory of mine. I really would love to see that, because I just want to see the rest of the guilds again. I just want another big war arc. I love war arcs, so that's just more of like a sort of like personal sort of thing for me. But yeah, this was a great chapter. Yeah, can't wait to see what happens with Grey and Juvia. Hopefully Natsu just doesn't come and just one-shots this guy. I really would hate that, to be honest. Like, give Lucy and Wendy more spotlight, especially Wendy. Maybe we will cut back to a few of the other fights. I don't know, though. I feel like they're probably going to save, like, the Loxus one or the Urza one for last. But probably the Loxus one, right? Who knows whether or not he's going to be able to, like, solo this Dragon God or not. I don't know. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, great chapter. I know a lot of people have a sort of different opinions on certain aspects of how Juvia's fate was handled. Let's be completely honest. She was never ever going to be permanently dead. I get some people may have wanted them to sort of play around with it, and I wouldn't have minded that as well. But you know what? At the end of the day, she's not dead. And it's one of them ones where I think having 20 pages per chapter really doesn't help, because it makes every single chapter end on a cliffhanger, right? If this was like maybe what you get in some manga where you have around 35, 40 chapters, this would have been completely fine. You never would have got that sense of a fake out, right? It's just the way how 100 Year Quest is. Every chapter just feels like a cliffhanger, which has become it's a positive, but also a detriment at times, especially in 100 Year Quest. It happens a lot. Remember the whole Lucy's arm thing, like way back in the Labyrinth arc? That feels like that literally feels like 4 years ago, because it actually might have been 4 years ago. It's crazy. But yeah, great chapter. I can't wait to see what happens in the next one. If anything really crazy happens, I'll probably make a video on it. But please let me know though. Do you want me to keep making videos on Fairy Tail at the moment in terms of where we're at with the story? Completely just scratch what I just said for the last 5 seconds, because I've already got a few videos planned for Fairy Tail. You know, it's my second favourite series of all time. My first favourite is SAO. Don't judge me, right? SEO is peak, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, you know, one of the videos I've got planned is talking about the female cast in Fairy Tail. And before people say anything, no, I'm not going to be just speaking about them in a sexual way. Well, maybe a little bit, because I love me some fan service, and I kind of have to. But just to give you a little sneak peek, I'm going to be talking about why they're like the best female cast in shonen, because they really are. I just find it very fascinating, like especially how each character is handled and used. But you know what, that'll be discussed in another video. And if you want to see that, and there's other sort of topics you want me to talk about, please let me know. And yeah, I probably will cover the next chapter, especially if it's going to pick up right where we just left off, which I'm assuming, and hopefully it continues what's going on with Grey and Juvia and all the other characters. So yeah, I can't wait for that. And yeah, bye.